My name is Sofia Karlsson, and I'm so very excited to spend my lunchtime together with you. And I'm here to talk about leadership and specifically about communication and connection. A subject that I realized more and more has been the difference maker for me in my career. But this is a big subject. So today I will give you pieces of the content from this book, John Maxwell's book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. I'm a certified trainer on this content and I practice it daily. The more I use this book, the more I value it, really. To be honest, I didn't find it amazing the first time I read it, but this book is supposed to be studied, not just read one time. So today I want to raise your awareness of leadership and communication as teachable skills, meaning everyone can grow in this area. And I will give you some practical information that you can apply right away. I really want to convince you, if you're not already, that we are all leaders in one way or the other. And leadership comes down to one thing, and that is influence. Leadership is influence. And influence depends on our ability to connect with people. It has nothing to do with our titles. And I'm sure that you know managers with zero influence and you know non-managers who seem to have an influence with everyone around them. So if you want to connect with people, you must learn to the principles and practices on how to do that and understand the consequences of not doing it. Your ability to connect with people is the number one thing that can bring you greater success in your personal and professional life. It is not knowledge, it's not experience or talent, it's your ability to connect with people. And everyone can learn this. Your day is full of opportunities where you can practice your ability to connect. Think that when you meet someone in the elevator, or when you meet other parents, when you're dropping off your kids at school, when you enter a shop or a restaurant, or when you go to the office in the morning, how intentional are you when you meet other people? What I've come to realize, and like I said, taken me far longer than it should have, is that the better I become at connecting with people, the better results I get. Because when I connect, I can influence, which means that I can lead my life in the direction I want it to go. And the same goes for you. If you are a parent, a spouse, a son, daughter, a friend, a neighbor, an employee or a manager, if you're the vice president or the CEO, it doesn't matter who you are. You can always improve your results by improving your ability to connect and influence people. And you also want to improve your love relationships, right? Connecting better will make a huge difference. First date or 30 years of marriage, connecting with that other person will make things smoother. Want a promotion? You need to connect better with your boss and your customers and your peers and your whole team. It's all about connecting. And everything I'm talking about is 100% teachable skill, which means you can learn to connect. You can learn to lead. You can learn to improve your ability to influence people. If you want to, only if you want to, because it takes an effort. And if you think you're already pretty good at this, you can still improve. And to get back to what I said earlier, this is not an ability that you have to be born with. It's a teachable skill. It might be outside of your comfort zone to connect with people, but it is within your reach. Don't put it on the side as something that is not for you, because you are losing out on something very, very important: influence. And the more you practice, the more comfortable you will become. And most people don't give any thought whatsoever to developing their ability to connect with people. Either they don't realize it's a skill that they can develop, or they don't see it as important. But look at you, you're here, so you are already ahead because you realize that this topic is indeed very, very important. Okay, So, but for those of you who don't give it any thought, well, they are obviously not here, but for them, it means that it's outside of their awareness. They are not conscious of the impact it has on them. And this probably wouldn't be such a problem if people weren't so emotional. But we are, first of all, steered by our subconscious emotional mind. Human beings are emotional creatures. You know that, right? We do have an intellect, our slower conscious thinking mind that can reason, that can accept and reject ideas. We want to think that we can always choose to be rational, logical human beings, but that's a facade. Emotions rule our lives on every level. We are emotional creatures. And this can be a problem for people who are not aware of it. It's a problem if you keep ignoring the power of the subconscious mind. It will cause you problems if you keep this knowledge outside of your awareness. So we can all be logical and conscious most of the time, but there will always be people and situations that trigger us, and that can suddenly just switch us, and we can no longer help ourselves. The emotions take over the rational mind before we know it, and it reacts fast. And I'm not necessarily talking about the visible big emotions, but also those subtle emotions that just gives us a gut feeling, or the anxiety we can feel before we even know what has caused it, or the worry that is so difficult to shake off, or the feeling of embarrassment that quickly comes back when we are reminded of something stupid we did in the past. Or maybe we blush and get shy when someone special shows up. Or why not the emotions that triggers our creativity and our energy? We can never and we shouldn't be immune against this. But we should understand, now hear this, pay a little bit extra attention now. We should understand that you and I are constantly receiving signals with our 5, or maybe you have 6 senses that has an impact on our subconscious emotional mind. When I smell sunscreen, I immediately get a vacation feeling in my body. Do you have something like that? Do you have a song that wake up memories? The other day, I even heard about someone who really knows how signals to the subconscious mind work. He sprays Ajax household cleaning around the front door so that his wife, when she enters the house, she's immediately in a good mood because she thinks that he has been cleaning. Huh? You see? So why am I talking about the subconscious mind and the signals now? Because also with your communication, you send out signals to people. So you want to be sure to send out the right signals when you communicate so that the listener, the receiver, feels connected to you. Of course, you don't know everything about other people, but some principles are universal. So when you learn how to practice them, you immediately increase your chances of connecting with people. You want to learn how to connect with people so that you can influence them and your relationship in a positive way, right? At work, you don't want anyone to feel nervous or anxious or irritated or worried around you, right? And for people to be productive and innovative, we want them to feel comfortable, inspired, positive when we are around, no? So this book, Everyone Communicates If You Connect, talks about 5 principles and 5 connecting practices. And when you learn and apply these lessons, you can completely redefine and reinvent your personal and professional relationships. Now, obviously, there's more to connecting than we can cover here today, but the few principles and practices that we have time to go over is something that you can apply this afternoon, right away. So let me talk about some of the practices. And if you have decided that you are going to improve your people skills, your ability to connect and lead, then you have some tools that you can use from now. And if you want to learn more, then even get more practical around it, apply it to your specific situation and person, you can register for the next leadership communication program that starts on the 1st of June, where you grow together with other professionals in a safe and inspiring space. These small groups that we create are really powerful, and for some people, even better than individual coaching. I'll give you more information about that at the end of this session, so stay tuned. So now I spoke shortly about, we'll share the screen with you again. I spoke shortly to you about the emotional mind, but you don't need to understand how the brain works in detail, but you need to be aware of the communication principles that work and how our brain receives them. So one principle is that connecting increases your influence in every situation. Let's imagine you have a frustrated client on the phone, or when you need to present something to your managers, or if you go for an interview. Do you agree that it helps if you create a connection with that person on the other end? That's what it is about. According to Harvard Business Review, the number one criteria for advancement and promotion for professionals is the ability to communicate effectively. If we want to advance and be promoted, we must be able to communicate effectively. And that means that you have to, first of all, connect. Several years ago, I experienced a very interesting leadership transition. I worked for two very technically skilled top managers. We can call them Bill and Bob. But consider their differences in connecting skills and who they were connected with when you hear this about Bill, who was there first, and Bob, who replaced him. The thing is, both Bill and Bob wanted the highest leader position that Bill already had. But the global decision takers thought it was time to give it to Bob. And Bob was better connected to the global managers, so they had a lot of trust in his capabilities. But Bill, on the other hand, was very well connected with the local people that worked in the company. You see, Bill used to joke with everyone. He paid attention to and showed appreciation when someone did a good job. He was very responsible, but also very approachable as a person. And Bob, on the other hand, was known as a person with a bit of a rough style, a dry humor, a very intellectual way of talking, so that not everyone would understand. And he could also get very angry, or at least there were rumors about it. So people were a little bit afraid of him. Do you think that Bob had some work to do when it came to connecting after he replaced the popular Bill? And of course, Bill decided to leave when Bob got the job. So people were also grieving the loss of Bill when Bob came in as a new manager. And this transition also triggered a huge staff turnover. Some people actually went with Bill to another company, all because of the relationship and connection that they had with him. This is not the first time you hear about a leaving manager who is the catalyst for other people also leaving, right? You heard it before. People don't leave companies, people leave people. Now, Bob really did his best, and after some time, things stabilized and people got used to him too. He was pretty cool. He was just different. He had to work on the connecting part before people understood him. And one excellent thing that he did was when he invited everyone to his house for beer and barbecue. Voila, he was suddenly seen as a very caring and approachable guy that people could relate to. And connecting is the ability to identify with people and relate to them in such a way that it increases our influence with them. We could now relate to Bob in a more personal way as a result of his effort to show a more personal and relaxed side of himself. Ever heard, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care? It is so true, and especially in leadership. So some people connect intuitively, which is the case for Bill. They have high interpersonal intelligence. They seem to value people automatically. Others, like Bob, recognize connecting as important, but they don't have the tools and the techniques. They need to learn to do what others do intuitively, which is completely fine and absolutely honorable. But still, some people, and you probably have some good examples yourself, don't recognize connecting as important at all. They think they can do it all on their own. They don't see why they need other people. Why rely on others when it's quicker to do it yourself? They will only disappoint me anyway, right? But that's an arrogant and short-term thinking, not at all sustainable, because it limits our growth opportunities when we only can rely on our own capacity. So the better we can connect with other people, the more influence we have, the better our results will be and the more growth we can have. Someone once asked me, but what about scientists or maybe an auditor or a risk manager? This is not so relevant to them, right? They work with data and numbers. Well, which person seems to be more difficult to find on the job market today? Someone with a master's in science, the diploma in audit or certification in risk management, or the one who can lead a team of such experts to produce meaningful results at the same time as they keep the employee engagement high? Getting the skills and the diploma, that's the easy part, often highly regarded. But having the ability to lead yourself and your team is something that is even more important. You can have 5 brilliant people on your team, but if your leadership is poor, you won't have any great results, because people are emotional creatures and you have to be able to connect if you want to influence and lead them. So to continue to try and outline the consequences of not connecting with people, picture this. Here we have a typical leader in an organization. She wants to deliver and improve the results. She will focus on and talk about that all the time. But if she is not a connector, if she doesn't value others, then it's very likely that she will think that the only way to improve results is to work harder herself and tell everyone else to do the same. That's often how people get managerial positions, right? Promotion is often based on a technical assessment, isn't it? The best technician gets promoted to lead a team. But the trouble is that leadership and technical skills are two totally different skills. The technician that didn't yet learn how to value people will simply think that if you want people to do what they should, then just tell them to do it and show them the manual. Now, if you are a technician, I'm not saying that you can't be a great leader. I'm just saying that your technical skills aren't enough, but you can leverage on them, but they are not enough. Here's an illustration and a small disclaimer as well that this is, as I said, a helpful illustration. It's not an exact science, but what it should show you is that the manager who can't connect works even harder. She puts in 20-30% more time and effort. And when that happens, the total productivity of the team goes up very little. The disconnected manager is not able to motivate and engage the team. The extra hard work makes a huge difference to that specific manager, big difference to her family and her well-being, but the very little difference to the productivity. What the connectors realize is that if you could just get 10% more out of everyone in the team, then it adds up to far more than they can contribute with alone. And as a result, they don't get divorced or sick. And they achieve this by connecting with people. And I've seen this, and I'm sure you have as well. Managers who think that they are extremely successful because they are working like crazy, but they are so disconnected from their people. So the overall productivity and employee engagement is actually low. Are you convinced yet about the importance of always working on your ability to connect with people? Are you willing to pay the price of not connecting? Or could it be worth it to make an effort to connect with your colleagues? Think about that. So the reason why I keep saying that communication is a skill is because it's much more complicated than just saying, okay, I'm going to get more out of others. It's not something that you can just decide or even schedule for. You have to connect and build trust. That's a long-term investment. And maybe it's possible to push and intimidate and chase people to work harder and faster, but that effect is very short-term and you end up working so much harder yourself. Leadership is the ability to create results through and with others. It's all about others, in fact. So, as I said many times now, anyone can learn how to make every communication an opportunity for powerful connection. It's really just like any other skill. You need to learn the skill and practice it. So the good news is, if you think that you are more of a technician and a task-oriented person today, someone who isn't intuitively a people person, no problem, you can learn. And the best news is that when you up-level your ability to connect with others, it will be so much more significant and pay off immediately. Remember Bob? He went from a 1 to a 7 just by inviting us to his place. It was so appreciated and disarming. And that brings me to the next principle. Connecting is more a skill than a natural talent. To connect with others, there is a way how you can leverage on the skills and experience you already have. So there are several factors that great connectors use when they want people to listen to them. So the first is relationships, who you know. A quick way to gain credibility with an individual or a group or an audience is to borrow it from someone who already has credibility with them. Who you know can open the door for you to connect with somebody. And the next is insight, what you know. If you share your expertise generously with others, you give people reasons to respect you and to develop a sense of connection with you. And here's where the more technical and task-oriented people have a big plus. Use your technical knowledge to connect with people by being approachable, sharing and helping. So appreciated. I think we all know someone who isn't necessarily the most social person, but still someone we like to go to when we need help and support. Then we have success, what you have done. People want to be successful and they seek out others who have accomplished something to get their advice. And if you are successful in anything you do, there will be people who will want to listen to you and connect with you. Mentoring, for example, the relationship between the mentor and the mentee builds upon the fact that the mentee wants to be connected with and to be influenced by the mentor. We even pay a lot of money for that. And then we have ability, what you can do. So if you have a high level of ability in an area, others may want to connect with you because of that ability. Excellence connects. Individuals who perform at a high level in their profession often have instant credibility with others in other areas as well. So people admire them. They want to be like them and feel that they are connected with them. When they speak, others listen. And that's why George Clooney can convince us to buy Nespresso, and why Nike is willing to pay huge amounts of money to Serena Williams, or why Cristiano Ronaldo could create noise on the stock market when he removed the Coca-Cola bottles at the press conference. Remember that? So again, this is good news for the technician. If you are a technician, task-oriented person, you probably have high abilities in your area of expertise. So you don't have to be an entertainer to connect with your colleagues. You have something else, but you must at least be approachable. If you show yourself humble in spite of your excellences, well, then you are soon also a great connector. And lastly, sacrifice, how you have lived. If you made sacrifices, suffered tragedy, or overcome painful obstacles, many people will relate to you. And if you have been able to remain positive yet humble during life's difficulties, others will admire you and will connect with you. So take Nelson Mandela, for example, or any other speaker that connect with their audiences because of a painful story that they share. We love to hear about survivors, how people have gone through pain and come back stronger. And this is why it's so powerful to show authenticity and vulnerability as a leader. You don't need to get private or have any extraordinary stories to share, but stop trying to look like nothing can get you. When you are in fact also stressed and have doubts sometimes, people connect with humans, not with robots. We don't love perfect people, even if they are the leaders. We love authentic people. So these are the 5 factors that you can use when you want to connect with others. And the more factors you master, the greater your chance of connecting with people is. And you must build on your strengths, develop your own style, of course, be authentic and use whatever factor you have to connect with people. So let me just recap some key messages so far. No matter your position or title, leadership is critical because anything you achieve in life, in every area of your life, will be with and through other people. Everything rises and falls with leadership. And what is leadership? Leadership is influence. And how can I develop my ability to influence others? Well, develop the skill of connecting. And how can I develop my skill of connecting? Learn to value others. And there you have the shift in perception. Take yourself out of the center and place others there. Now, let's take a look at the practice. The last one now, we've gone through some principles and now one practice that can help you connect better. I used to think it was all about being the best, right? If you want to lead, you have to be the best. If you want people to listen to you, you have to impress them. But influence is not about impressing people. If you impress people, you are actually creating a distance between you, like the wow feeling. That is not a connection. Remember, we said earlier that people are emotional beings. They're not logical. They're first of all emotional. And to understand how to connect with people emotionally, we need to understand that we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And we are different. So let me try to illustrate what I mean by that. Take a look at this. You got 5 seconds to decide what you see. Do you see a saxophonist or do you see a woman's face? It all depends on where your awareness is. Now that I have already told you about the 2 images, you are aware of them and you can see them both. But it is the same picture. The same picture viewed differently by different people. So if the picture is the same, then the difference must be within us, right? We all have a history. There are different things that have impacted us, which changes the way we see things. And that difference is called conditioning. I have to put in the power cable I see now. Right. So that's the conditioning. So we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And the implications of this with regard to communication are enormous. We all see the world differently, so we interpret it differently. We have different filters when we look at it. Now, This is a simple example, this picture, but it illustrates my point in that we are all different. We all see the world differently. We all have different beliefs, different values, different cultures. We have different passions, expectations, and tolerances. And to ignore that when trying to connect is to miss the whole point of connecting. Connectors really understand this. They know they have to connect with people on common ground. You have to find a common ground, even if it's just a little strip. See, if I told you about something I believe in and you don't, you're probably not going to show so much interest, right? There won't be any emotional resonance. Even worse, if I violate your beliefs, you're actually going to get a bad feeling about me. No one wants to hear what they believe is wrong. So if you challenge somebody's beliefs or ideas directly, at work, for example, they're going to reject you. Emotionally, they will reject you. This is the ego in the raw state. It wants to eliminate everyone that doesn't agree with it. And this is why it's, of course, so challenging to talk about religion, politics, and whatever it is that might create a lot of friction between people. So if you want to connect with somebody, you've got to go to them. You have to go first and you need to connect on common ground. That's the principle. Connectors connect on common ground. You have to meet people where your beliefs and theirs intersect. That's the common ground. So this is how enemies can become friends. So this is how Daryl Davis, an African-American man, managed to become friends with KKK members and convince them to leave the Klan. He says, I appeal to people's common sense. I don't seek to convert them, but if I spend time with them, they can't hate me. If you can work on the things in common, that's how you build friendship. Now, this might seem as an extreme example, but if he can do it, then so can you do it. You can do it with your colleague, right? It can be as simple as starting off by asking how the weekend was before jumping into the question that you have about the report or the late delivery. Show sympathy, share something about yourself, find the common ground, even if it's just a strip. Now, this takes energy. It takes energy to connect. There's an investment necessary before the payoff. But that's true of anything in life, isn't it? I think we also can agree that it takes huge amounts of energy to have conflicts and friction with people when we don't make that first investment to connect. So we're about to finish. So we're going to have to leave it here, but hopefully we've covered some ideas that you can start using right away. I've briefly touched on a few principles for communicating and connecting, and I wish we had time to talk more about this, but I want to honor your time. There are more principles and practices worth knowing. So imagine going through these lessons in a group setting. What would happen to you if you took a deeper dive into becoming a better communicator? So if you are ready to grow as a leader and a communicator, then you can sign up for the training that starts on the 1st of June. The groups fill up pretty fast and I take maximum 8 people. And I already have some awesome people who have signed up, so I know it will be good this time as well. Now, I will be so happy if you also want to join. So use the link that I sent in the chat and sign up right away. So thank you for your attention. Have a fantastic rest of the day. And don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions or want to learn more.